All right. Well, here's the deal, man. I'm stuck in brutal traffic right now, trying to get back home so that I can do some videos for the channel. So I thought while I'm stuck here, man, I can literally film because I'm literally moving like a few feet at a time. And man, this kind of reminds me of I remember being out in LA, right? I had a girlfriend that lived in a small town called Temecula, right? And I got to a point where every weekend after I work, all week, I would go down to Temecula, right, for the weekend. And, this was the days, long before cell phones and all that. And I had this old, Mazda B2000 pickup truck. The stereo had gotten stolen out of it when I lived in Hollywood. And so I had a Walkman with headphones that I would wear, while I was driving, which I know it's not safe, right? I know it's not safe, but to do an hour and a half or 2 hour drive with no radio, that's brutal. I think that's almost dangerous as well. But I can remember, man, one night getting on the freeway and trying to head from LA down to Temecula. And man, the traffic was just insane. I was literally losing my mind. And I left at a reasonable time, but man, you could just run into insane traffic. And I was literally, now I know when there's traffic that there's nothing you can do about it. And you have to just, chill and make the best of the situation. But back then, man, I was a young kid full of energy. I'm trying to get somewhere to go, spend the weekend with my girlfriend and all this. And man, I was in my car just screaming and losing my, what. And here's the thing, man. She expected me at 10 or 11 o'clock or, somewhere around then. And man, I don't think I got there till like 12:30 or 1 in the morning. It was just one of those crazy LA, traffic jams that can happen at any time of the day. And, man, that's that now I see this little traffic jam that I'm in here, and it's parents dropping their kids off for school. And I think, this is nothing. This is just, a chance to chill. And look, man, I know that, it's going to be a daily thing doing this and navigating this, each day. And I have to just do my best, man. I have to just, try to get through it and, deal with it. Getting upset about a traffic jam, and this might help the young cats that are tuned in. Because if you're going to move to Nashville, if you're going to move to LA, if you're going to move to New York, you're going to have to deal with insane traffic, way worse than what I'm looking at. The reason why I'm in traffic right now is it's a 2-lane road and there's tons of new construction and everybody wants to get their kids. It's all families with kids. They're all trying to get their kids to school. But in the meanwhile, there's cows, to my right and new homes to my left. So, it's not that bad. But man, know this, if you're moving to Nashville and you get a gig, you better leave and get there early, man. You better, keep in mind that there's going to be traffic and learn how to navigate. Now, Nashville, man, I have no problem navigating around that town, working the grid. I got that way in certain parts of LA where I could get from the valley to the, to Hollywood and West Hollywood and all that stuff. I knew how to navigate around out there. I knew how to, how to work the grid. And, but man, be prepared for traffic. Be prepared to be stuck in a standstill somewhere, and you're looking at the clock and you're doing the math in your head, and you're thinking, I'm not going to be there on time. Look, one of the reasons why I probably got hired a ton and I worked a lot is because people knew that I was going to be at the gig on time. People knew that I was going to be there, right? Now, there were certain musicians that I worked with. If I was band leader, I always knew if he's, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the gig, and he's not there, most people would panic. If you're at a job and your employees, look, there's some employees, whatever job you're doing, there's going to be some employees that are always going to be early. And look, man, my theory is this: if you're not 15 minutes early, you're already late. Okay? It takes time to prepare for a gig. And look, if you're playing music, I would say you need to be there at the very least 30 minutes before the gig. 30 minutes before the gig. At least. And if there's a sound check, you need to be there 30 minutes before that. You need to have your gear loaded in and be in place 30 minutes before that. It gives you time. If there's a technical difficulty, it gives you time. And look, man, and what that also entails is you really might get there. You might get there even earlier than that. Getting to the venue, finding parking, doing all of that. But like I said, there were some musicians that I knew that would literally roll their gear in, sweating profusely 5 minutes before the gig. And as a band leader, I knew that's what they were going to do. I knew if I hired this person that they were going to show up at the last minute, rolling in, sweating, and you were going to count off the tune and start the gig. But they were probably 99.9% they were going to make it, right? They were 99.9% going to make it. And, but I don't live by that, man. And I don't think, as a band leader, I didn't like that. I would always like, people tend to say that, and I've heard this said before, that the more experienced musicians, they don't show up early. They just show up, this and that. I don't agree with that, man. I don't agree with that. I want to be in place. I want to know if, what's going on. I want to, take note of who's late, who's not there yet, all of that. Maybe you get to the gig and all of a sudden there's a song that you needed to learn and you didn't get the email. You've got extra time. You're going to be able to do that. But if you're showing up sweating profusely at the last minute, there's no time for that. There's no time to learn anything. And then guess what? You're expected to just play it right off the cuff. And somebody throwing you numbers on stage. And that's never an optimal situation. That's never something that I would recommend anybody do, right? I would never recommend that anybody, have to follow numbers, but hey, it happens, and you just have to make the best of it. Tunes get called, if somebody makes a request and comes up with $100 bill to the stage, then you gotta just do your best and try to listen to the piano player or whoever knows the song. But man, being on time means leaving early. And just like I had to leave early this morning to hurry up and wait to get my daughter into school this morning, we still left early because there can be traffic jams. And just like me, scrambling, trying to get home, and being in that traffic jam, you have to be patient. And look, if you've allowed yourself enough time, so that you're not freaking out, that in your car and angry and your blood pressure's up and you're sweating and running into the venue and all that. Nobody wants to hire that guy. I don't want to worry about, is this guy going to make it on time? Texting and calling when the band leader's having to text you or call you minutes before downbeat and go, where are you? That's not good, man. So if you're one of those people that's not late and that's always late and unprepared and all that, man, change that immediately. Change that and plan ahead. Leave your house early, way early. If you think it takes 30 minutes to get there, then at least leave an hour before, right? At least leave an hour before. Give yourself extra time. And you know what? Why not? Give yourself an hour and a half. Give yourself 2 hours. It doesn't matter. Be there. Let the band leader know they can rely on you. Let people see that you're always there. And they'll know that. They'll know they can count on you. And that is some of the best advice that I can give.